Do you want to grow sales faster? You need more trust with your prospects and clients. Welcome to the 2021 Trust Building Challenge, brought to you by Selling from the Heart. Each day, you'll be challenged and equipped with new ideas to grow and sustain trust. You'll discover practical ideas that you can put to work right away to help you grow your sales. You're about to be coached by some of the world's foremost sales thought leaders and practitioners. This is going to be practical and fun. So grab a pen and notepad and get ready to take action as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Daryl Amy.
Hello and welcome back to day 5. Well, it's actually day 4 because we moved day 1 thanks to Facebook. Welcome back to Friday at the 2021 Trust Building Challenge.
It's the 5th day of the week, so you're all good.
It is the 5th day of the week. Hey, this has been an incredible week. What a blast. And talk about powerful ideas. Dave Sanderson yesterday, I'm telling you, that was so practical and useful. And I'm just so thankful for this faculty of coaches that has showed up here, Larry. And on top of that, this incredible community that's forming, saying, hey, I know I want to get better at building trust. I want to up my game in this area. And it is so exciting to see what's going on right now.
It's so cool to see all of this vision and all of our discussions over this past year come to life. I'm super excited to bring Dr. Maria Church on too.
Just wait. We got love-based leadership in the house. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter. You may say, well, I'm not a sales leader. Well, guess what? Salespeople are leaders. Sales professionals are, that's for sure. We cast vision. We affect change. We build culture. I mean, there's all kinds of great things. And all of it revolves around trust. So Dr. Church today has some incredible content to share with us. By the way, if you missed it yesterday, we have a bonus session coming up on Tuesday with our good friend Todd Capone, the transparency sale. Do you think Todd might have a few things to teach us about trust, Larry?
He is. I tell you what, you have to follow Todd on Instagram because his Instagram handle is just amazing. It's the sales historian. This guy geeks out like none other on sales history. And I know he's going to be dropping it next week.
Yeah, so definitely tune in next week. You want to be a part of Todd. That's going to be same time, same channel on Tuesday of next week. And all through this fall, we want to bring you content that's going to help you grow in building trust. One of the tools that's going to help you grow in building trust is from our friends at BombBomb. We are so excited. Actually spent time yesterday with Ethan Butte. And if you've listened to the Selling from the Heart podcast, you know Ethan, you know Steve Passanelli. What you may not know is they've got a new book. It's coming out on Tuesday of next week. It's called Human-Centered Communication. Larry, it's a business case against digital pollution.
I tell you, every time when I first met Ethan, gosh, this goes back well into last year. This is when Rehumanize Your Business, when the book was coming out. And we always learn these really cool words. Well, in human-centered communication, they're stopping digital pollution. And it's just so interesting, Daryl, their whole take on digital pollution.
It really is incredible. And I was just going to say, if you want to get a copy of this book, it's coming out on Tuesday. But right now, and through the launch day, they have a bunch of really cool bonus stuff packaged with it if you pre-order. And you're going to want to pre-order this book. Listen to that. Digital noise and pollution reduce our ability to connect and communicate with the people who matter most. Is that just, that says it so clearly. And so just go to bombbomb.com/book, pre-order that book, get in on it early. It's going to show up next Tuesday when it releases. But this, if there's anything that hurts trust, it's, talk about the anti-trust. It's putting out noise, and not just noise, but also pollution that's doing damage. And I think you definitely want to do that. It's fun just seeing the people. We got Dave Tegmeyer back in the house. William's here. William, thanks for your videos and all of that. It is awesome. You know what, George, you're absolutely right. If you have not had a chance to get to know the newest member of the Selling from the Heart team, Jackie Joy, you got to make that a priority. You're definitely going to laugh. It is so exciting to see all of our friends here today. And we've got a fantastic day queued up. Matt's all the way back in Alabama, is in the house today. Look at this. What a blast. It's so fun. We're going to have such a good time today and all of this. But everything this week, Larry, has been about building trust. And, when you think about trust, Larry, why do you think trust is so critical right now at this moment in history in the sales profession?
I keep going back to the whole perception, and I just think it's the perception. Here's what I'm just going to cut to the chase on this one. It's because perception's reality. Mm-hmm. There's been so much lack of trust. We've all known it in sales for a long time. Mm-hmm. Through the lens of a buyer or your customers, for that matter, their view on sales isn't very positive. And we have to change the course of time. This is why I think it's going to be super cool when Todd Capone comes on next week, because he's going to take us back in time. And I'm talking into the 1800s and the 1900s. Yep. We were talking about trust then, but somewhere we just veered the corner a little bit. It's just time to bring trust to the forefront. All of our speakers have spoken about it this week. Is if you want to build stronger relationships, if you want to bridge the relational divide, we got to get back to building trust, and we got to put trust just right up on the front of the business table.
You're absolutely right. And it keeps eroding. And, you may go, well, Daryl, Larry, I'm trustworthy. I know you are. I know the people that are Selling from the Heart champions and in this community are trustworthy. The problem is we walk in the door, and we all know this. We've got to establish credibility over and over again. We've been saying this throughout this week. You look at all the problems that we face as sales professionals, whether it's deals stuck in the pipeline, prospecting is a challenge, just opening a door nowadays, partially because of all that digital pollution, RFPs, referrals, margin pressures. Even this week, we've been talking about the reality of most people now, most industries are in the middle of price increases. We certainly will be in the new year, and we've got to be able to have these conversations. And it all requires trust. And this, every day we've been pulling in quotes from thought leaders on trust. And earlier this week, we quoted Stephen M.R. Covey on from the book Business at the Speed of Trust. But I want to pull in Stephen Covey himself, right? The great
we went right into the family tree, right into the family tree, Daryl.
But this is so incredibly true. When the trust is high, I'm going to insert in place of communication, I'm going to insert sales is easy, instant, and effective, right? When trust is low, sales is hard, long, and ineffective. And this is why I truly believe that the number one thing, this is what we've been talking about over the summer and this fall, as we've worked with sales teams from enterprise all the way down to small and medium-sized business and individual reps and the insider group. This theme of trust keeps coming up over and over again. And my theory, Larry, is if we can nail this trust thing, this is like the domino that pushes over a whole bunch of other dominoes in all of this.
No, I totally agree. Go back to that quote for a minute, please.
Yeah.
And I think this is where everything ties together. Is think about this, and I want to play off of this. When he goes on to say, when the trust is high, communication is easy, instant, and effective. Think about this when you're having conversations with people. If there isn't that trust there, they're going to withhold that valuable information that you all need to help them do better business.
Good point.
However, when trust is there, and I'm even going to throw the word comfortable in, when you are trustworthy and you bring them comfort in knowing that you're that right person and you're going to help them do better business, something happens mentally and they will start opening up. They will start sharing with you their secrets. I'll just layer in their business secrets.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the holy grail. This is what we've got to get to. So we started thinking about what are the components of trust. We came up with a mathematical formula. Now, if you don't like math, you can blame this on our coach, Dave Sanderson, because he got us thinking about what is the formula for, there you go, tip of the hat to Dave. What is the formula for trust? So this is what we came up with, right? We came up with this formula right here. We've been talking about it all week. Larry, talk about the first two components of trust. These are, you got to have this. This is non-negotiable.
It is non-negotiable because the rest of the equation doesn't pan out if you don't have authentic relationships, And when I say authentic relationships, these are deep, meaningful, genuine, heartfelt relationships at levels, upper level, mid-level, lower level management. You have to cast a wide net with these relationships inside
Mhm.
your client base. So it's the power of bringing authentic relationships and marrying that together, which I know is near and dear to you, Daryl, with meaningful value.
Well, not meaningful values. We've been saying if you've got great relationships, but you can't communicate meaningful value, and Dave did a great job of coaching us yesterday on the questions to ask. But if you can't communicate meaningful value, then you'll have a lot of great relationships. You just won't have any sales. You'll have a lot of really good business friends, but you'll be broke. The flip side is if you've got meaningful value, but your relationships are shallow, you're not going to sell anything either. And so it takes both of those two sides of the same coin. But then we talked about the multipliers as well. And this is where, when you get multipliers involved, this is where good things start happening. Results start increasing. And the multiplier that we want to bring into this conversation is inspirational experience. This is looking at what's it like to work with me as a sales professional from the beginning of the interaction all the way through the sales process. And then taking that, and nothing happens in sales without some disciplined habits. We've got to have the habits to bring to the table to build trust. Trust happens when there's action. And, that makes me think of conversations with our friend Jack Hubbard.
Oh man, I was
Right?
just thinking the same thing. That goes all the way back to the authentic selling challenge.
It does. Trust requires action. Authenticity is a nice buzzword. Authenticity is meaningless until there's action. Trust doesn't happen until there's action. So we believe that disciplined habits play a huge role in this. So here's the deal. The question now is, how do we operationalize this and turn this into reality, turn this into results, turn this into increased commissions and more fulfillment? And I say that what needs to happen is we need to integrate trust into every phase of the sales process. And you look around this wheel here, you've got prospecting, you've got selling, you've got client management, kind of three high level phases of sales. And you've got to integrate trust into every phase of the sales process. Otherwise, you're missing out on the benefit. It's like applying trust. We may want to apply trust to one area. We got to hit all three. And this is what we're aiming at inside the intensive. We've been talking about this all week. And the idea is we want to coach a select group of sales professionals that say, I want to take my trust to the next level. Why? Because I want more income. I want more fulfillment. And I really believe that taking trust in each of these core areas of prospecting, selling, getting some pipeline velocity and client management, we up our trust in each one of those areas. We're going to see sales professionals double their income in 2022, and it's going to be really fun.
I'm super excited, and I like that the fact that we weave all of this in
Mhm.
all aspects, but it all starts with, and Daryl and I have been in deep discussions about this. It all starts with building those relationships, those rock solid relationships at your client level. Because I'm a big believer in this. The key to your business growth moving forward comes directly through and how you influence your client relationships moving forward.
That's right. And so that's why we've put together the trust building intensive. And this is coming up. It's going to be kicking off this fall. We're going to get started, but we're going to work through each one of these areas. We're actually going to do it over 9 months. So we said this was intense. This is going to be intense. Now, some of you may go 9 months. Yeah, we're going to work through in bite-sized chunks, implementing all of this. Of course, you can get off the train whenever you want, but we're looking for 12 sales professionals that say, Larry, Daryl, I want to take this to the next level. I want to integrate trust into everything that I do. And it is going to be a complete game changer. Throughout the week, we've had several people in the chat say, I want to be involved before they even knew the details. And there's a lot of excitement around this. We want to keep this group tight. We want to keep this group with people that are going to be engaged. And we want to keep this group with people who are going to see results. And there's going to be weekly live sessions, a mastermind community, daily motivation. There's some bonuses. You can learn about all of it at intensive.2021 untrustchallenge.com. Larry and I will be talking on that page as well. We've got a video that explains exactly what our vision is and exactly what results you can expect from being involved, along with the details of the investment amounts and how it's going to work. So I am so excited about the intensive, but I'm also excited.
I'm excited about our guest.
I'm excited about our guest today because Dr. Maria Church has been such a incredible ray of sunshine and inspiration in the selling world, because not only is she an internationally renowned leadership expert who wrote this fabulous book called Love-Based Leadership, but she's also been engaged in sales throughout her entire career in sales leadership. So we've got a real incredible resource today. And I am so excited to welcome to the 2021 Trust Building Challenge, Dr. Maria Church. What's going on?
Hi. Oh my God.
So good to see you.
So it is so much fun to hang out with you two. It's like the highlight of my week. So I'm so excited about this conversation, but we never seem to have enough time to do it. So let's dive in. But first of all, I didn't know any details about your intensive coming up. It sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be great. It's going to be super great.
I get to hang out with you two for 9 months. and tap into your brilliance and your expertise, and you talk about authenticity, and it almost pains me that word has become cliche. But if we really go back to the root meaning of authenticity, that's you guys. I mean, you are the way you show up, the way you continue to give it's admirable. And
you're gonna make me cry.
Don't cry on TV, Larry. Don't cry. Your makeup will run.
That's good. Stop it.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I'm really happy that, and it warms my heart that you all are talking about the importance of trust. And we all know this. None of us have been living in a cave. We know that our trust has really been compromised. Probably, I don't even want to say the last couple of years, probably the last couple of decades. It's just degraded and degraded and degraded. And yet it's the attractor to those of us that are finding success in our sales. It's and success in our relationships, and let's face it, success in our life, period. I had some data that just blew me away. I have an online leadership development university, and we have an entire module, an entire week of our 12-week program that's dedicated to trust. So I wanted to pull out just a couple of the data points that are part of our curriculum there. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it really puts the exclamation point on the challenge of trust.
I love it.
So the Deming Center of Quality Control at Columbia University reported that mistrust doubles the cost of doing business.
Whoa.
Holy
doubles. So
wow.
Think of those of us that are selling in an organization, and then those of us that are selling for our own companies. None of us, big or small, can afford double the cost of doing business. This one blew me away. The Harvard Business Review, we all know HBR, reported that 58% of people trust strangers more than their own bosses.
Oh,
I mean, you think about it. There are parents that are putting their kids in Uber, sending them off to baseball practice or soccer practice or whatever, and they're trusting those Uber drivers more than they're trusting their own bosses. That was very sobering stat. Here's two more. PricewaterhouseCoopers survey found that a strong majority of business leaders, 55% to be exact, believe that the lack of trust in the workplace constitutes a foundational threat to their company.
Wow.
So people are recognizing that this is a serious problem that can really not only degrade our company, but potentially destroy it. And then the final one was from the 2021 Edelman Trust Barometer. 56% of people worry that their business leaders are purposefully trying to mislead the people by saying things that are false or gross exaggerations. Then we wonder why trust is such an issue. Yeah.
And I think this is a great way to start this off, because I know Dr. Church, you were involved in a large Fortune 500 company at a leadership level. And how are you bringing this to the forefront all the time inside your organization? What were you guys working on that you instilled trust all the time? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I was in senior leadership there, and I led our sales and marketing. It was a Fortune 500 company. Um, and one of the things we had moments where our salespeople were extraordinary. I just want to say that those that were really successful built the trust.
Mm-hmm.
They built trust from the get-go. They did a lot more listening than they did talking. And they followed up and did simple things like doing what they say they were going to do, right? And just being and reinforcing trust. And this is something I learned from them that I use today in my own business, because I also do sales still, but for my own business now. And I mean, simple actions like if you say in a conversation that you're going to send somebody something or that you're going to follow up with them on something, I always begin my emails with, as promised, and then I state what it is. I mean, it's a simple act, but I remember seeing my really successful salespeople doing that. And I thought, wow, what a great way to reinforce that I'm trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so smart. The thing that I learned, like most of us in our professional experiences, I learned really positive things about how to build trust, how to build influence, how to be a good leader. And then I also learned, note to self, don't want to do that. Yep, that is not that's not going to build trust. And so I learned, I think, both sides of what's positive and things that had negative influences and negative impact that I really didn't want to rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned about trust when I worked for that Fortune 500 was something called the psychological contract. I don't know if you or your listeners and viewers are familiar with that, but it's a really important, impactful phenomenon that happens. And the reason that I believe it's so profound is that the psychological contract is really an unconscious contract that we create. And in this context that I'm going to share with you, my experience is with your employer, but it could also be, I think we could take that into our client relationships as well. And
Mm.
so let me share with you what the theory is, and then I'll share this example in my experience that I had. So the psychological contract, again, is an unconscious agreement, hence the name contract, that we make with, and I'm going to talk about the employer, that we make with our employer. And how that might read, if we were to put it to words, is if I show up early and I'm working late and I'm working through my lunch hour and I'm volunteering when a new project comes up, I say yes all the time. I'm prepared. I'm a rock star. I do a great job. And when that promotional opportunity comes up, I'm going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, many of us build those psychological contracts because that's what fuels our
Yeah.
behaviors, right?
Right.
So the problem is, the probably obvious problem is that when that promotional opportunity comes up and we don't get it,
Mm-hmm.
there is a severing of that contract. That
Mm-hmm.
contract is broken.
Mm.
Then what happens when we have this broken contract? Well, now we lose trust in our employer in this example, and we start to disengage.
Mm.
Because, if we don't trust the people that we're working with, the people that we're working for, the people that we're buying from, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, I think the only exception to the rule is if I really, really want that product or that service, in spite of the lack of trust that I have for the salesperson, I'm not going to buy it. So in my example that I learned, and this is where I learned a really, really big lesson on trust through the psychological contract. So I was working for this Fortune 500. I had an assistant who seemed like a real rock star assistant, and found out that she was embezzling money from the organization,
Mm.
significant amount of money for the organization. Through the investigation, we found out that she had a history of this. Unfortunately, it didn't show up on the what do you call that when you check to see if they have
Mm-hmm.
their background didn't
Mm-hmm.
show up on their background, which was surprising. But she had also embezzled from a former employer who was a bank. So anyway, she, went to prison for several years. And this Fortune 500 that I was working for is a home developer or land developer and home builder. Her husband was starting to build a house in our community.
Mm.
And she's, paying us restitution, $5 a month, whatever that restitution looked like. And I remember I was the broker. I was the designated broker for the organization. And my salespeople never told me about this contract. They went around me to the vice president of the company, who was my boss. So I'm sitting in a sales meeting, and now all of a sudden they're talking about this contract, this deal with this family. I went, whoa, 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 time out, sir. Time out. What? And I remember my boss turned to me, looked me square in the eyes in our sales meeting, and said, their money is just as green as everyone else's.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a big deal. It was a big deal. And I remember immediately leaving that meeting, calling our construction crew, talking to the superintendent, and said, hey, listen, can you bring a red light bulb in? Because we need to put that in the coach light out in the front of the building. Because we are absolutely prostituting ourselves in this organization. And I went home and I stayed home for 2 days. It completely, and I had been with this organization, I want to say close to 15 years.
Yeah.
And it completely severed the psychological contract because,
Wow.
I was part of the investigation. I had to go to the trial. I mean, it was a horrible experience, to go through all of that. And then of course to have the trust betrayed by my assistant. But the biggest breakage of that contract was that sale was more important than that relationship, with me as a senior leader. So yeah, that's what I learned about the psychological contract. So now let's
Wow.
take that experience and how can that go awry with our sales?
Right.
And so one of the biggest things I think that we can do to help alleviate the psychological contract is to communicate very, very clearly what the expectations are in both directions.
Yep.
So for instance, in an organization, you do this, you do that, you are going to have a paycheck deposited into your checking account every 2 weeks. That's our agreement, right? Anything above and beyond that you have perhaps ideas about growth in the organization, let's talk about that. Let's be really clear about what that career path looks like and what you can do to help compete for that. And just bring those kinds of things out on the table. In our sales, let's be clear about not only what the seller or the buyer can expect from us, but what we expect from the buyer as well.
Yeah.
And I think, when we talk about managing expectations, I think that's really important so that we don't fall prey to a psychological contract gone bad.
This is golden. I just want to rewind, Daryl, like 30 seconds because you just keyed on something I don't think many of us in sales think about. And I love this whole concept of the psychological contract, by the way. I think it's brilliant. But go back to, because you said this is what you can expect from me. But what I like how you phrase this is now, if I heard you correctly, this is now what can I expect from you?
Yeah.
How many of us in sales are willing to ask, what can I expect from you in building that trust? I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. And I mean, the benefits of doing that is, again, we're very clear in expectation and we're having a really honest, authentic, candid conversation about also what we're expecting in return, and that might be honesty. I can continue to help you through this process, especially if it's something like a big ticket item, like a home. keep me apprised what's going on. If anything sort of glitches in your financial situation, let's just keep that line of communication open. So that might be one of my expectations of you as a customer, is let's just continue to be really honest with one another so that this can be as smooth of a process as possible.
I think that's so powerful, because how many psychological contracts do we have as sales professionals with our prospects, right? We don't talk about this stuff, and we just, we think, well, if I do this, this, and this, then surely they will buy from me. And then stuff's
Right.
in the pipeline. We get stuck. It's ghosted. Why didn't you win that deal? We had no discussion of expectations. And as a result, we end up frustrated. Oh, it's so frustrating, right? These
Yeah.
unspoken contracts.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It can be, and for ourselves, when we're in that selling role, it can be devastating to our esteem, and then it affects our efficacy, our
Hmm.
ability to sell. I think the other thing, big lesson that I learned in that experience, and that clearly has had a huge impact on me and the work that I do today, is how powerful fear is,
Mm,
and how destructive fear is. And that's I think one of the biggest reasons that we've seen such a degradation of trust, is how people are leveraging fear, because fear is a motivator.
hmm.
The challenge that we all have, and the rub in all of that, is that fear is not sustainable, and fear degrades trust very quickly.
Hmm.
And so I was just having a conversation with my daughter before I hopped on here with all of you, and she's in the process of buying a house. They're having a home built, and she had she had sold a previous house, had worked with a great lender, and just was automatically thinking, because she built a relationship with that lender, that she would continue to use that lender. Well, the home builder, of course, has a marketing organization, or excuse me, a mortgage company,
Hmm.
and so they also approached her there. And she told me today that she ended up going with the one that she had the original relationship with, plus it was a better financial situation as well. However, that said, the lender for the home builder was 100% fear-based tactic.
Hmm.
100%. Well, if you go with someone else, they might not close in enough time for you to close. And with the market as strong as it is right now, you could potentially lose the
Yeah.
house. And that was just so distasteful to her, that was, just permeating her decision completely.
Yeah.
Then when she told them, no, I'm going to go, now they're getting close to closing. No, I'm going to go with this lender that I have the relationship with. Then said they got very aggressive, trying to match it, trying to beat it. But she said, Mom, at the end of the day, I just don't like the way they were trying to get me with fear.
I
Yeah.
want to key in on this, because this is
Well,
one of the
because you
things
talk about it in your book.
you got
Yeah.
it. By the way, everyone watching it live here and listening in later, grab a copy of Love Based Leadership.
Thank you.
You're gonna love this book. But you say this, so here we are, selling from the heart, right? We're all about love.
Yeah.
And I think we tend to think the opposite of love is hate, right?
Mm,
Hatred's the opposite of
mhm.
love. But in your book, you say it's the opposite of fear. And here's how I was trained back in the day to sell when I
Because
first
you
started.
started in sales before I did.
Exactly. Hey, we both learned how to sell on transparencies. Tip of the hat to our friend Todd coming on with transparency sale. But hey, what I was trained to do was, you bring in fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and that's the key to selling something. And
Right.
you're saying that the opposite of love is what?
Fear. Fear
Fear.
is the
Yeah.
antithesis of love, all day long, all day long. And when you start to peel back things like hatred and doubt and uncertainty, you peel back the layers and you will find the seed of fear. And even things like bigotry,
Hmm.
peel those back, 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 back. And the seed of it is fear of different.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and this is such at the core of selling from the heart. And I'm having a flashback, and remembering what Don Barden was saying a couple days ago about, how you begin every sales interaction with gratitude.
Mm,
and complimenting, not demolishing your competition.
Yep.
Coming in and saying, "Hey, look, I noticed so and so out in the lobby when I was in. You've got a great option in that company. They're good people. They have a great product, and I'm just honored to be in the same conversation with them because what's cool is you've got a no lose situation here."
yeah,
And then go in, and while the buyer's going, what? It's different. Also, you're not introducing fear, because I was taught to say, well, did you know about them? And if you don't
right,
do this, maybe this horrible thing's going to happen. This is the opposite, where we're trying to go and selling from the heart with meaningful value. Let's
right.
be aspirational. Let's be forward looking and motivational, casting vision, a leadership trait, not, oh, you better not do that. Right. And this is a game changer when it comes to building or destroying trust, is how we use or don't use fear.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that, the scarcity mentality too is so destructive to trust
Hmm.
building, because a lot of the scarcity tactics that we see, people training and teaching in sales is really self-made
Hmm.
and self-imposed. And
Hmm.
the reality is it's just not true.
Right.
It's just this like false sense of scarcity. And it's just totally another fear-based tactic and a
Hmm.
fear-based approach. And it makes me giggle when I think about, because I know I've seen the type of selling that you experienced early on in your career. And again, it was effective. It
Hmm.
will motivate people, but chances are you probably didn't get referrals, and chances are you probably didn't get them for a second or third or fourth. The life cycle of that particular customer was probably very short.
Yeah, Larry, it makes me think of this digital pollution we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier with Ethan and Steve's new book, Human Centered Communication. There's a lot of digital pollution out there, but we also pollute the waters when we bring fear into sales situations. You may win the one deal, but your chances of that turning into a long-term relationship that is fruitful, cross-selling, upselling, referrals, you kill the golden goose before you even get started.
Yeah, it's so true, and I want to go back to, and Todd Capone is going to peel this back when he gives us the history of all of this. But just from your perspective, since we're talking trust and the trust challenges, where do you think, and this is just your opinion on this one, is where do you think trust has gone awry throughout the decades in sales? I mean, what do you think, just from your point of view, what's caused some of this? I'm just curious.
Is that for me or for
Yeah,
Daryl?
no,
For me, yeah.
yeah,
So I really think that somebody realized, perhaps stumbled upon the fear tactic
Hmm.
and realized that it did motivate. And depending on how convincing they were with the fear, whether it was scarcity, whether it was fearful that somebody else will get this and you won't, which I guess is still related to scarcity.
Hmm.
But realizing that fear did motivate. Oh wow, I got this, and maybe it was a little bit quicker than building my relationship.
Hmm.
And so I think then it probably just ended up morphing, and again, I'm speaking anecdotally. So you'll probably hear more of a theoretical, historical account of that. But I think of that also when I think of like leading people. And
Hmm.
we've talked about this before. I see very little difference between leadership and marketing and leadership and sales, because really I guess the root of that also is influencing and motivating. And so with leadership, we're influencing and motivating perhaps a team for goals and objectives, and in sales we're influencing and motivating buyers, to make a buying decision.
Hmm.
So I really don't see a lot of differences there. So I can certainly speak to fear with leadership, and I believe that it was absolutely really trying to motivate and influence people rapidly, that fear tactics worked, and they do. I know that. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've done it before in
Hmm.
early in my career. I just didn't learn that it came with a price.
Yeah.
And that price was degraded trust.
So true.
Yeah.
This is such a great discussion. And by the way, if you have any questions for Dr. Church, feel free to put them in the chat. But I thought with Jackie, what you said is so true. Many of us were parented with fear. We were schooled with
Yep.
school, and it's like, don't do that, or you're going to the principal's
Yeah.
office like Larry. Hey, I thought it was funny, Larry. Come on, man. Uh,
It's flat, dude, Daryl. It's flashbacks now. Now people
but
are gonna
seriously,
look
we
at me
were
in a different way. Man, stop it.
so much. It is so true, Jackie, and I'm, I think of this
Mhm.
as well. So many of us were raised with fear, parents, schools, whatever. We brought that into the business world. What do we do? Coach us for a minute on if you've been living a fear-based life and selling in a fear-based model, how can you begin to turn the corner to more of a love-based approach?
Yeah, number one, and it's always number one in so many behavior modification exercises, is really awareness
Hmm.
of it. Fear, it's just pervasive. It's everywhere. It's on TV, it's in Facebook,
Right.
it's showing up on LinkedIn too, I mean, it's everywhere. And so recognizing fear for what it is, and then
Uh-huh.
really starting to be very intentional about not allowing it into your space, not allowing it into your world.
Yeah.
It was, um, oh, his name escapes me right now. One of the great motivational speakers, like the grandfather of motivational speaking.
Hmm.
Um, James Rohn
Oh, of
said
course.
that, yeah, right. The grandfather, right?
The godfather of, yeah, of
Godfather
motivation.
of it. Yeah. So he said that, we are the average of the 5 people with whom we spend the most time. And
Hmm.
so when we think about that, we can be very selective with who we want those 5 people to be. For some people, it's 24/7 news,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know? And we know today news is not it's not neutral. So it just depends on what channel of news you're watching, and that's going to be, your influence. We're so lucky today with the technology and the choices that we have around us that we can be really mindful and thoughtful about who those 5 influencers are. The other thing, and I wanted to share this with you, this is again part of our trust module in our Leadership Development University, is the ABCs of trust building. And let me just
Mm.
look to see where we're at with time.
Oh,
Oh, we're
good. I'd
good.
love to hear it. This is
Okay.
awesome.
So the ABCs. So the A's are align your words with your behaviors.
Hmm.
So let's choose our words well, and we want to look for that alignment between words and behaviors. And this is from my mother. Actions speak louder than words. So do
Yes.
what you say you're going to do, right? Authenticity is crucial for trust building. Be you. Be
Yeah.
authentic, be you, right? Everybody else is taken. And then the fourth A is accountability and taking responsibility. Key
Yeah.
steps for trust building. So when you say you're going to do something for someone and it doesn't happen, own it.
Yep.
Take accountability for it. I'm really sorry. That was my intention. I dropped the ball. I apologize, and let me make
Hmm.
it up to you. All right. So the B's, believe in the good in others, giving the benefit of the doubt. I love the trust quote. I know you guys said you've been doing quotes about trust all week from Lao Tzu. He who does not trust enough will not be trusted.
Ooh, yes.
That's so
That's a
good.
good one.
You got to repeat that
So,
one again.
yeah, he who does not trust enough will not be trusted.
Boom.
That's Lao
Yeah.
Tzu. Yeah, it's a good one. So believe in the good of others, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Build your own trust in others. Benevolence and kindness goes a long way in building trust. And so I love that
Hmm.
story you said about, complimenting, giving those gratitudes at the beginning. Benevolence and kindness goes a long way. And then the fourth B is bonding with others. Build and nurture those relationships. So that's why coming from the heart, selling from the heart,
Hmm.
leading with love takes a little bit longer. But
Yep.
you know what? Measure twice, cut once, right?
That's
Yep.
right.
All right. And then the C's to close that out. Clarify your expectations, right? We want to avoid that psychological contract on awry. Competence creates trust. So
Hmm.
continue to build your skills, become very competent. Commitments need to be honored,
Hmm.
and consistency becomes a measurement in trust.
Oh, that's good.
Those are our ABCs in trust building.
Oh, that's great. I'm putting these in the chat for everybody, and they're so good. This is beautiful. What was the last one? Commitments need to be honored, and
And consistency becomes a measurement. Yeah.
Hey, Daryl, as you're doing that, and we still got a few minutes. I was noticing a couple of questions in there. I know Bruce Kirk popped one in there. Good to see Bruce out there. He was just saying example of, if we could share, if you can share examples of
let's think of those
fear-based tactics
together.
to avoid, because I know he'd pop that in secondly.
Yeah.
And then we can round out with George Henderson's question, because I thought that was really good.
Fear-based tactics to avoid. Well,
Yeah,
you mentioned.
Well, the one was my daughter's.
Yeah.
Well, if you go with someone else, they might not follow our timeline, and then you might lose your house that you've been watching being built for the last 9 months.
It's interesting as well, and this has got me thinking, Bruce. You've set a whole loop in motion here, Dr. Church. But I mean, just even like it, the old. I'm gonna come in and audit and find all the problems. And you might be spending way too much money, and spinning that all around fear rather than opportunity. And I think that you can lead with fear and you can lead with opportunity. And looking at how can we sell positive, right? We've got an episode coming up on the podcast with my good friend, Dr. Joey Fawcett, who wrote Work Positive. And we're talking about selling positive rather than selling negative. And there's two ways to approach this. We can be aspirational, or we can be, whoa, no, you better not do that. All that kind of, and so I think there's ways to do it. It's a great question, Bruce. I think it's going to be on my radar. I know it's going to be on all of our radar to go, where are we using fear, and how can we, and just, I think this will be a part of our discussion in the Insiders Group. I actually have to have Dr. Church back to the Insiders Group to talk about this, because I think it's so good. Hey, George says, in your experience in corporate America, and for our international listeners, corporate anywhere, how and why have you overcome the suppression of enabling trust through oppression tactics and creating fear from the ivory tower to the rank and file? Lots of fear from the ivory tower.
Yeah, lots of fear from the ivory tower. And so, and the work that I do today is really deep work in organizational culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the ways in which I do that is to recognize the subcultures throughout the organization. So for instance, if you're working in an organization and the ivory tower or the C-suite, the 10th floor, is very fear-based, then chances are to really affect change throughout the organization, and you don't have the support, if it's not starting at the top and you're coming in at the middle or at lower ranks, then it's important to look to create a really strong, healthy subculture.
Yeah.
And so depending on your role there, those of us that have been in middle management, for instance, know that we're the great barrier between, the 10th floor, right, and the rank and file. And so we really then work very intentionally and strategically to create the kind of barrier that's going to keep the fear from permeating our organization. And so, just a real practical example, for instance, is, doing a project, completing the report, turning it in. And, my team just worked really, really hard on it, probably some overtime, whatever, and then turning it in and getting it kicked back and saying, this is all wrong. You all need to fix this by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, or you can start packing up your desk. Right. That's obviously a fear-based tactic and approach that I've seen happen multiple times. So I could pass that on to the team. Right. Or I can say, okay, guys, got the report back. It is not what they wanted. They want to see us, fix this, redo it by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Pizza's on me. I want you all to go ahead, go home for the next hour, take care of your family, pick up your kids, do whatever you need to do. Let's come on back in here in an hour. Like I said, dinner's on me. You don't have to worry about dinner.
Yeah.
Right now, my people are going to come with a different energy, in that approach than they would if I directly related the ivory tower fear-based approach. So there are practical ways in which we can do that.
This is so good. We got to continue this conversation. I love this idea of the subculture, and I think of bosses that I've had inside. I was in a global technology company, and our regional culture was great in our regional office. And it just makes me think, and this is something we can continue the conversation on, is how can salespeople create that subculture inside their client base, right? Because
Yes.
especially in the, I mean, look, we've been talking about this. We're all going to be
Well,
having
because we talked
price
about
increase, and
well,
you know,
that subculture could be community.
yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dr. Church, wow, thank you. I mean, I knew this was going to be great, but you always bring not just energy and inspiration. You bring fresh ideas and perspective. I'm so thankful you're a friend of Selling from the Heart.
Thank you. I ditto. I am so grateful for the two of you and your community. So thank you for the invitation again. I always look forward to it. Like I said, it's the highlight of my week.
No, we love
Awesome,
hanging out with you.
Yeah, we appreciate you. I love
Oh,
me
I'm
some
telling you.
Dr. Church. That was great. It was good. Get a copy of Love-Based Leadership. Actually, don't get a copy of Love-Based Leadership.
Buy a
Get
bunch of them.
20 copies. Seriously, this is one that you want to get a stack of and hand out to all your clients. I mean, wouldn't that be a great way to begin building the subculture inside your key client base? And on top of that, why don't you get a copy and then invite everyone to a Zoom meeting and talk about this with your clients? Wouldn't that be incredible? Such great content. One of the things that Dr. Church said that I think is so true is you are the sum total of the 5 people that you hang out with.
It's so true, because it goes right back to the equation that Dave Sanderson's been coaching us on. It goes back to the RA part of this. It's the right associations. What right associations are you all forming?
That's right. And so we're going to give you an opportunity to hang out with some great people. Who better to hang out with than other people that want to grow in trust in sales? So check out the intensive, the 2021 trustchallenge.com, tag the word intensive in front of that, and learn all about how you can put yourself in a place with other sales professionals. You may not have that in your bullpen. You may not have that in your sales team. You may not have that in your company. It may not be the most positive, nurturing, encouraging place. Maybe the exact opposite, which is exactly why I think it's going to be so great for many of you listening in here live and later on to be a part of the intensive and what's going on. We also invite you to join us in the Insiders group as well. If you want to come to our next one, we got Tom Hopkins coming to hang out with us.
And by the way, that's next Friday. So
yeah,
a week from today, I encourage you, hang out with us in the Insiders group. We're bringing the legendary Tom Hopkins into the Insiders group.
Larry, it has been an incredible week. I'm so excited about all of the things that are in motion with the Trust Building Challenge. But we're not done. The challenge is still going. And we've got Todd Capone coming next Tuesday. So mark your calendar, Tuesday, 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific, same time, same channel. It'll be recorded. You'll get the recording, but it's more fun if you come here live because you can interact with Todd, and he is going to be bringing some very interesting, provocative, and powerful information that I think is going to help us all in the area of building trust. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Church. Thank you to everybody who is out there. If you're finding value in this, will you give it a shout out on LinkedIn or Facebook? 2021 Trust Challenge. What's cool is this is going to keep going throughout the fall, and we're recording all of this. So even if your peers, your coworkers, and your clients want to get in on the action, they can immediately access the recordings when they sign up. So it's going to be really, really cool. Larry, I am excited. I just want to say thank you to you for all the energy you've put in this week. This has just been so fun and so inspirational. I'm really, really happy about what's going on here.
I'm super excited. I'm so proud of what we're accomplishing. But just, hey, really quick before you sign us off, I saw somebody in the chat I just want to give a special shout out to, and it finally just clicked. Bronwyn, thank you so much for hanging out. You'll see in the chat, it's Moss Mentors, but it's our dear friend Bronwyn. She's all the way in Cape Town, South Africa. Woo! I love her. Just thank you for hanging out with us. I know it's a time difference, but thanks for being there all week.
It really has been a blast. And so we'll see you back here on Tuesday. Everybody have a great weekend. And thank you so much for all you're doing to be trustworthy, to build trust and make this world a better place. Larry, have a great weekend. And I will see you back here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today for the 2021 Trust Building Challenge. Building trust requires action. Your challenge to take what you have learned today and work together to put it into action right away. If you've enjoyed the ideas and inspiration you've received today, please take a moment to share this challenge with your friends and clients. Let's all take action. We'll see you again tomorrow.